Hello and welcome to another episode of Workplace Wizards. This is episode number 32, and it's titled Developing Great Leaders, or just develop good leaders and great leaders. How do we do that? So today's topic, we're going to talk about that because we just talked in episode number 30, we talked about lessons from legends. And why do we consider them legends? What were some of the attributes that they had that made them great leaders? So I'm here with your host, Arnell Smalley. I'm here with our co-host,
I'm Gavin Wong. Good afternoon or good morning, depending what time it is.
Gavin Wong from where?
Oh yeah, Gavin Wong. I just assumed that everybody watched all your podcasts. You see, so but you're quite right.
I got new followers, Gavin. I got new followers. They want to know who you are and where you're from.
I made some assumptions. So my name's Gavin Wong, and I'm from near London in England.
In England. All right. So, Gavin, when we're talking about developing great leaders, people are asking, how do you develop great leaders? And a scenario is like somebody does something really, really good. They're really great at it. And you know what? The company says, oh, if he's that good at it, or if she's that good at it, let's make them the leader. Or let's take them from the position where they're doing so great work and put them in another position now where they got to be a leader, they got to be a manager, they got to be in charge of something. And maybe it just doesn't fit. Because we find out that having technical expertise does not qualify you to be a great leader. That gives you high IQ, but it doesn't give you high EQ.
Yes.
What do you got to say about that, Gavin?
Well, I find that quite reassuring and worrying at the same time because because my career is always, most of my career, I have worked in industry as well, but the last 30 years has been in law enforcement. And actually, one of the criticisms of law enforcement is that we only really promote people based on how they do the job. So they're good. They might be a good detective, an investigator. Okay, they might be a good investigator. And then we put them in charge of a team. And actually, they struggle with that. And there'll be for a number of reasons which we can discuss. But I guess some part of me always assume, well, that's just a policey thing. We don't, surely that can't happen in industry. And actually what you describe, it happens just as much.
Right.
In industry, maybe even more so. And I think that, it's not uncommon. I was training the other day and there was someone who's doing they're acting at the next level. And they were saying that the personnel stuff is just so difficult. Nothing had prepared them. Nothing prepared them with the challenges of that because you don't see it. They don't see their line managers doing that kind of thing. So they don't realize it's happening. So when they have to do it, it's like, what the hell am I meant to be doing? And I think a lot of people are in that position.
Yeah, did you just cuss on my podcast?
Did I just what?
So Gavin, if the manager doing that, you know that statistics state that 51% of HR professionals deal with conflict 1 to 5 hours every week. Yes. 1 to 5 hours. They're dealing with people problems. So that's one of the things that you just said when the manager said, "What the heck or am I doing?" Because that's what they have to do now. They have to start dealing with people.
I just counsel. Well, first, I apologize if I use any language that people were offended by.
But what I'm saying is, so that's one of the things. So we're getting back to great leaders, Gavin, some of the attributes of great leaders, like one, a great leader has to be somebody who's able to connect with their subordinates or just their peers and even the upper management. They have to be someone who's able to connect up, sideways, and also down. They also have to be able to adapt, because what you find out, they can't use that cookie cutter approach to, like, I can't tell Gavin to do something in a certain way and expect to get the same results from other people that are different personality styles. So you have to be able to adapt your leadership approach so that you can relate and connect with the individual that you're talking to right now. And all that deals with effective communication. That's the third thing that's so strong, is that effective communication.
Yeah.
Go ahead. You were going to say?
No, I totally agree with that. And I think one of the things that is just quite important for me, and all of you people, to have that emotional awareness of their team, or even being able to understand which style to use, you've got to understand that person. And what I encourage people to do is really be professionally curious about their team. So actually, you should know your team, understand what makes them tick, know a little bit about them, ask questions, and just be interested in them. All too often, I might have said this before, but I remember dealing with or taking over some PAs and
explain PAs.
A personal assistant.
Okay.
So when I've been promoted, I've had a personal assistant, and talking to assistants. And I remember one lady said to me, she was a fascinating lady, spoke to her. She was from Zimbabwe, and she had a really fascinating story about how she'd come over to the UK and the challenges she had out there. And it was just really interesting. And she said to me, no one's ever asked me that. No one's ever asked me about me. That's the look I had.
Right.
But I was thinking the same thing, because why wouldn't you ask those questions to somebody? And actually, the thing is that many people don't, whether they won't or I don't know why they don't, but a lot of people don't feel inclined to be curious and ask people about their lives. Do you know? And it's very simple, I think, which are really important, because you need to understand people. Because dealing with, you talked about that stat about dealing with conflict. Dealing with conflict is very difficult. One of the reasons people don't do it, because it is difficult. And if you've got very challenging conflict, it could take a lot of time. You need to audit a lot. You need to, you're under a lot of scrutiny for doing the right things. And the employment law might be slightly different in the UK and the US. I'm not sure.
Right.
You have to do
Let me go back to the stat, because you said dealing with that stat, and we didn't discuss that on the podcast. That was a discussion we had previously. But the stat he's talking about is that 60% of workplace employees do not even experience any type of conflict training. So 40% that do have had some type of conflict training, either it be in conflict resolution, human behavior styles, or or even just emotional intelligence training. Those are ways that you could deal with conflict. The 40% that have had some sort of training feel better equipped. 95% of those individuals feel better equipped to handle conflict if it does arise. So when Gavin was talking about that statistic, that's one of the things, because what happens when people aren't ready to deal with conflict? What are some of the traits that they go through? Some of them bury their head in the sand, and they hope that conflict just goes away. Some people are just got that avoidance tendency of, if they see a person they had a crucial conversation with and it didn't go their way, what are they going to do when they see that person? They're going to avoid them. They're going to try to go the other way, just so they don't have to have that conflict. They don't want to deal with that conflict.
Yes. And even if they do it once, it's so uncomfortable, they don't want to do it again. And one of the things that stat I think is quite helpful, because what it tells us is that we know it's difficult to deal with this sort of thing, because can ultimately, where the emotional intelligence comes out is that invariably, if you're dealing with personal issues, they're normally emotional issues. Okay, so you're dealing with unpredictability, and people are going through a lot of different emotions, whether it's even sadness or whatever it may be, or anger. Often it would be anger. So there's lots of emotions. To deal with that is quite difficult. So being emotionally intelligent is important. But what I liked about that stat was that the people that had some level of training, felt that helped them to address conflict. And on some levels, I think where that plays out for me is that the reason that would make sense is that people feel they've got more, they're able to be more courageous.
Developing courage from the training.
Yeah.
Or from
I mean, you need courage, regardless of whether you're trained or not, to address poor performance or HR issues. It's going to take a bit of courage, because it's going to be difficult. And there might be reasons why you don't do it. But one of the things that if you do know that you've got some rough idea of how to do it, it might just help you be more courageous to take that first step.
Right.
And actually, once you've taken that first step, it might not be quite as bad as you think it's going to be. Okay. And I think one of the things, and that's why sometimes conflict feels like it takes up a lot of people's time, because it takes up more time than it should do, because they don't know how to deal with it effectively, because they haven't the awareness and the training that you're talking about.
Okay. So this is a topic that we're probably going to stay with for a minute. We're going to park the car here. We're probably going to continue with this topic for the next couple of episodes. So we just want to let people know, hey, we're going to help you with developing great leaders. We're going to give you some statistics. We're going to give you some stories and analogs of how people deal with, with conflict in their workplace environment, and how they get over it, and how they can become better leaders. And it's a lot about emotional intelligence and human behavior styles. So we're going to get into a little bit of that as well. So stick with us. Stay tuned for the next episode of Workplace Wizards podcast. And I'm your host, Arnell Smalley, along with
Gavin Wong
from England. And we just want to say goodbye for now, and stay tuned for us next week. See you.
Take care.